If you're watching this video, there's a good chance you want to know how to automate Notion, content creation, and using n8n. This is what I'm going to share today. In the last 10 years, I've published thousands of pieces of content, and I've been using Notion every day since 2018 to not only publish much of the content machine that I've built, but also to run our multiple six-figure family business, doing a variety of business activities. And in the last 4 months, I didn't have an n8n account 4 months ago. I've never used it. I was unfamiliar with workflow automation tools, but I've been going deep down this rabbit hole about how to automate Notion and n8n and learning everything that I can about AI and some of these tools. So I'm going to condense for you what I've been learning in this last 4 months, and really down to the 24 best tips that I found, and really the 24 common mistakes that I made in the beginning, and the solutions of how to avoid it. So by the end of this video, you're going to be able to have a condensed version of some of the most powerful tips for automating your Notion. And the reason why I'm recording this video is because, shout out to Productive Dude. He encouraged me to record this video. He records, he has a YouTube channel, and he posts Notion tutorials and now n8n tutorials. He was seeing my growth. He's been mentoring me how to create some of these AI tutorials as well now, and he's been teaching me about n8n. Learned a lot from him, and he requested that I share what are some of the workflows that I've created and some of the tips that I've learned about navigating Notion. So here it is. Thank you for the suggestion. Now I'm going through this. Now before I dive into it, I just want to say I'm going to be going at a fast pace while going through this. So there's going to be times where you might want to copy a screenshot or a prompt or a code snippet or something. You can use Copyfish. It's a free extension for your web browser that you can screenshot anything in this YouTube video and it will turn the video into text that you can copy and paste to use wherever you would like to. So that is a useful tool. Now, the first tip that I have found is, number one, the first mistake is relying on YouTube tutorials to learn n8n. In the beginning, I started watching a few of them, and I found that a lot of the YouTube tutorials were long and not relevant. And I didn't like learning how to set up a system for literally figuring out the weather. Those type of examples and use cases were not really relevant to me. So that's a challenge of these static videos, is they can't really tailor the suggestions to me. But it was probably about the third or fourth YouTube tutorial that I watched. There's this guy in the first like 15 seconds, he's like, many people are spending tons of time watching YouTube tutorials trying to learn n8n, but you can use n8n Assistant. And he like flashed this on a screen in the first 5 seconds. I was like, wait a second, took a screenshot, went to look it up, and the rest was history. I have used n8n Assistant to build just about every single workflow that I've done in n8n, and it has been able to solve almost every problem that I have faced, and has saved me a ton of time. What I love about this the most, it's free. It's a custom GPT on ChatGPT, so you could use it, anyone here can use it, and this will walk you through step by step whatever workflow you want. I've used it, I often ask it to explain to me like you were explaining to a grandma, because I want such plain non-technical jargon and that would go over my head. I want it to be simple and understandable, and this has walked me through step by step. And anytime that I may have had a question about what it was talking about, then I was able to figure out the terminology, go back and forth and ask it not just to create it for me, but to teach me how to think through and make sense of what I'm looking at in bits and bite-sized pieces, so it's not daunting or overwhelming. I could get a high-level overview of, and one of the prompts that I asked was, what is the 20% of the skills or the terminology that's responsible for 80% of the results? So I love using this chat, this specialized chat that's trained on n8n and has the most up-to-date updates and nodes and new features that come out. So the solution is really using n8n Assistant GPT as a tailored tutor. It gave such specific advice at just the most timely moments to solve real business problems that I had. And I'm so grateful for it. That has been the secret sauce, which leads me to the second mistake. And that is relying on Notion's documentation or just the generic trained data that these AI chats have. So n8n Assistant is amazing on many things, especially when it comes to n8n, but it's not that great when it comes to Notion. In fact, ChatGPT isn't the best when it comes to Notion, because Notion is frequently updating, and it changes its formulas, and a lot of times they're trained on older data. So what I found works a lot better is using Thomas Frank's exhaustive guides to train AI chat specifically on how to understand Notion. For example, who is Thomas Franks? Thomas Franks is probably the #1 Notion creator in the world, and anytime that there is an update to Notion or a new feature, I always go to his channel to figure out what does he have to say, because he's going to break it down. One thing I like about him is he's very exhaustive in his approach, and he likes to push new Notion features to the very limits in many different use cases, and he explains how these things work together. And because he has such an exhaustive personality, what he's done is he's actually put together, like when Notion formulas got a drastic update, he created this massive guide showing you exactly how to use what Notion 2.0. And as you can see, like, it is so long. It's got the smallest scroll bar here. And he created the cheat sheet for us to understand if we wanted. Now, I haven't gone through this guide. I don't really need to, but I can hit Control-A, I could copy it, I could paste it into n8n Assistant or any chat AI, and now it's trained on the most up-to-date Notion formulas, which this guide he created this because he realized that Notion support documents didn't go into as much depth or detail as his guide does too, with examples. So they're not as thorough as his are, and I found that ChatGPT kept giving these wrong formulas that were just outdated, that was based on 1.0, and now Notion is updated to 2.0, so what used to work yesterday doesn't work today. So I trust Thomas Franks to always keep me up to date. He's been doing a fantastic job at it, and that's what I use for training the AI chats. So another document that he has that I reference frequently is the Notion database automations. He has a complete guide here where he also expresses different the Notion automation features. Now, this is a paid feature. I am on the Plus plan on Notion, so a lot of what I'm going to share with you can be done on a free plan, but honestly, even just upgrading the Plus can be very powerful for allowing you to toggle on this little automation symbol on any Notion database. So he walks through exactly how to do that, and the Notion, the ChatGPT is now going to be better trained on how to do that and what that could look like. So that's been very helpful. In fact, I've actually been creating a Simplify AI Studio that is trained on n8n and the most up-to-date exhaustive resources for Notion when they update different videos, to be able to help simplify the process of creating automations in databases, buttons, or formulas, so that they're not hallucinating or making stuff up when I'm asking for them. So that is another tip, was really going through and using his exhaustive guide to train AI. That has been a game changer for me. So the second mistake is really investing in tools that don't have an API. And what I mean by that is, first of all, what is an API? If you're a grandma and you're wanting to automate your accounts, then just think about, you might be asking, what does API stand for? And I'll just tell you, I don't really know. I've looked it up and I've seen it like 10 times, but those words, they don't make sense to me, no matter how many times I see it. So it's never really stuck. So for all intents and purposes, I'll just explain, like, API basically is allowing programs to interact. That's what it does functionally. So if you want Canva, or if, let's say, you want Notion to be able to publish a video over to YouTube, it's going to be an API that connects the dots. So if I wanted to schedule or have AI to communicate to my Notion, then I could use OpenAI through that, and that's going to be through an API. API connects different apps, and whenever they're building softwares, rather than starting from scratch, they're always leveraging the APIs of other softwares, which is pretty convenient. So what big shift that I made when learning about n8n is I started to think through and filter and prioritize differently my content. I started to always ask the question, does the tool have an API? Does it have API access? So I was using Otter, for example. Otter.ai allows you to transcribe videos, audio, text. I've been using this for years. I used to type all this stuff. Then I was at an event and I was typing every word that Brendan Burchard was saying, and this guy was like, "What are you doing?" "I'm typing." And then he had his phone on his lap. He's like, "Yeah, so am I." And he showed me his phone, and it was saying every word. I'm like, "That's amazing." So he was using AI to be able to do that. And then I was hooked on Otter, but Otter doesn't offer an API, so I had to figure out a replacement. And that's so important. Same thing with Google Voice. I used Google Voice for several years, and that's for texting and phone calls and having a line that is separate. I actually started using that since I was 18, since 2014, and so that was about 11 years ago. But it doesn't have an API, so OpenPhone does, and I started using OpenPhone for our business line so that we can send text message. Is that when someone opts in, we could send out a text message, we could respond back and forth. I've got an AI agent that will be able to respond to messages and reply, book engagements, appointments, and respond to people, or help with our customer support. So that's been very helpful. But what I'm saying is that taking the shift of really thinking about what has an API, and if it doesn't have access, then start replacing those tools. So another example is like Minvo. I was using a tool that would clip these long form videos, and then it would find these short form 30-second, 45-second clips that are helpful, and you could post those as shorts on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, and different reels. So over the years, I've tested out multiple clipping tools that I've tried, from Opus Clip, Opus Pro, which tends to be like a category king here, and to tools like Video. I've used that. Descript, I tried it. Minvo, I got a lifetime deal on it, so my team and I were using this to repurpose some of my longer videos, and that was good, but it didn't have an API. So I started looking for one, and what I finally found was Vizard. Vizard AI will take long videos and clip them, and I was able to automate that into my Notion account, and I'll show you that a little bit later. But this, so the fact that it has an API is why I used it. Now my tech stack has changed since using n8n, and I started to replace things. Like I found out Canva doesn't really allow you to fill information into your slides. I still use Canva as I'm on Canva now, but when I want to automate something, Google Slides has a very well documented image like kind of designer. It's simple, but you can create your templates on Google Slides and have them programmatically or automatically start filling it up and put that information on Notion databases, which is really cool. Like I mentioned, for clipping long videos or short videos, I switched to Vizard, Google Voice, OpenPhone, Otter. I started going on a search for how can I transcribe videos and audio into my Notion account, because I wanted transcriptions. And then I found Assembly AI is actually, it's like pennies for me to do all of the content that I record. It's about maybe $30 a year for me to transcribe as much as I would like to transcribe. Then I could repurpose it for a variety of different ways, which was really convenient. So they give you $50 for free, and that lasts so long. And I found out that Assembly AI is actually what powers Otter and what powered Video, and some of these popular AI tools that transcribe. They are actually the ones that are paying it. So I went to ChatGPT and I asked, what is one of the cheapest AI transcription services? And I found Assembly AI. I was able to set it up. It's been doing good for me. But then AppSumo had a deal on Uniscribe where I can get a lifetime deal for 6,000 minutes a month, and it's extremely generous. So I'll probably be using this. That's more content than I record each month. So that has been really powerful. But my point is, like, you want to reevaluate your tech stack and to see maybe tools that you've used in the past are not tools that are automation friendly today. And because no matter how long I've used it, it's the amount of time, energy, and effort that could be saved by being able to switch to a more powerful tool, or really a tool that's able to be automated, is extremely valuable. So like an example of a tech stack, I use Notion, I use Timecodes for booking accounts, ClickFunnels for creating sales funnels, websites, allowing people to purchase online. I like OpenAI ecosystem. There's a lot of different ones out there. A lot of people like to do a whole bunch of them. I find that it simplifies things for my team to focus on one and get good at that. And but you have a tech stack, and if you want to use Notion for automating, you might want to evaluate and really prioritize looking and be intentional about prioritizing API-focused tools. This was a really powerful thing that that shifted for me, and once I started to be able to do that. Now, the fourth mistake is using multiple content calendar databases. Now we're getting into more Notion specific. And what do I mean by that? I used to have all of my content on different databases. So when I would when I had interviews with people, I had a database for that. Sermons when I'm speaking at churches, I've got a calendar for those. The short videos I talked to you about, I had a monthly live cast that people paid to join every month. And I just had a variety of different content calendars, and that was harder. They weren't all structured, they didn't share the same structure. And what I learned, actually inspired by Thomas Franks, his Creator's Companion, was to consolidate all the databases into one master content calendar database. So what does that look like? It looks kind of like this, where on this master content calendar, I could zoom in so you could see a little bit better, but the way that I have it is I've got my titles here, and I've got the video files here that I store, and I've got a workflow status. This is what I use to run all of my n8n workflows, and this is, I just change one of those, and then n8n will be fired away, and it'll start automating, and it's so powerful. I put all of the transcriptions of my videos in here using Uniscribe, or what I would recommend is Assembly AI if you don't have a tool like that. Those are both very good ones. So I get my entire transcript there, and I have my hook, my title, even my title for this video is going to be on here that I'm recording right now. And then I've got the description of what the descriptions would look like on YouTube. Those are all AI generated automatically, and I could show you what that looks like. I've got formats for the types of videos I'm doing. Here's a screencast like what I have today. I've done a Bible reading video, coaching call recording. That's what my clients in my business, I help holistic health educators to monetize their knowledge online, and through creating premium mentorship programs. And that's my recording every week that I'm coaching them. For about 2 hours, I get that video and I can repurpose it. I do a live video once a week in a weekly webinar, and I share with holistic health educators new concepts and ideas that they're able to use. And then this child content is where I learned from like Gary Vee that you can repurpose your content into a variety of different formats. So these are probably quotables that were taken from the video, and then we also create an email that goes out to go push to our email list that people are able to be used. So hopefully what you're seeing here is it's actually an extremely powerful content calendar that contains it really, every single piece of content that I ever publish on social media, on any platform, goes on this master content calendar database. And I've published thousands and thousands of pieces of content. And with the help of n8n, I have been able to more than 10x my content production. I did thousands before n8n, and with n8n, wow, it has been so much easier. So we got testimonials from our clients and helping to keep track of reviews and good things that people say. Really, this has been a powerful tool for keeping track of my content. So that's one thing that I started doing, is instead of having all these different calendars, I just consolidated them into one master calendar database that maintained the similar structure, that was able to allow the automations to be a lot easier and keep track of everything in one place. So that has been that's been exceedingly good for me. Now the next mistake is mistake number 5. That's tracking my platforms and content on the same database. So what I used to do is, if I have, when I say a platform, I mean like Facebook is a platform, TikTok is a platform, and YouTube is a platform, different platforms. I would put them all on different databases a lot of times, or I would have them as a select property. But what I found works so much better instead is to be able to have use a relation property to connect a platform database with my content calendar database. Now what do I mean by that? So here's my platform database. Also was inspired by Thomas Frank's Creator Companion. Shout out to him, powerful template. If you want a structure of something like this, I don't sell templates, but he does, and it's really good. Now I've modified his drastically, but I'll share with you some of those modifications. This is so powerful because if I've got tools, or I've got a brand, here's my Enoch Leffingwell brand, then I'm able to post and share those things that I've had, from my Facebook group to my Instagram to even our premium content. So like every course video, every coaching call, every premium content that's not publicly published, it's all tracked on Notion. So by having this database, I'm able to group my database by these brands. So that's able to help me keep track of it. Here's our health education company. This is my Simplify AI with Enoch, which I just created and I started sharing, and I'm enjoying that. That's been helpful. That has some of the videos that are coming soon. I've got our faith-based ministry where I publish my sermons and Bible studies on YouTube, and we've got small group ministries. And every email that I send out to my list for the ministry or for our business, they all get a page on Notion. But we've got, they're all filtered by this platform database. So that makes it very easy to keep track of what is being published and where. And that was, before knowing that, they were all kind of blended together, and it was a lot harder to keep track of. But I realized that actually I've been using Notion wrong this whole time. By being able to have a database with these tools, you can pull something up. Like I'll show you my Instagram. So on Instagram, I'm able to grab holds of this in progress. So instead of editing a Notion database in of itself and then having like select properties that you have a drop down, I found that it's so much more powerful to be able to have a page. This Enoch Leffingwell Instagram profile is a page, and then you can have inline databases here that you can create. And when you type in / and you type in inline, then you could just select a new inline database, and that's what these are. These are all, every one of these toggles is actually a view to my master content calendar database, as you can see. But they're different filters, which makes them extraordinarily powerful, where I can create, like here's my quote card view that is able to, looks like I don't have any in the queue. Oh, there they are. So these are quotables that I'm able to post, put on, to automate with Google Slides and put on quote cards that I can publish on social media. And they're just little quotes, little nuggets that came from my content that I can now share and post, and it keeps tracks of it that way. We've got different types of formats that we're able to use, and reels, listicles, different tools that we're able to use. And we are able to keep track of it by status, but because of what I realized is that these are so much more powerful because they are a page that has an inline view, that these views you can filter it by very specific information. Like this is only the carousel posts, this is only quote cards, rather than having all of these views on the master content calendar database. That would get chaotic very quickly. But you could be very generous with the views when they are in these pages. So that was really convenient for me. So there's a platform page for each view. There's a platform page for each of the platforms that I share, and then inside those pages are inline databases, and they're related. My content calendar is related to my platform database, so I'm able to group them together and keep track of things a whole lot better and manage different brands all in the same database. That's what keeps them separated. So and those platforms are automatically added as long as every time that I create a page, which is what I do, every time I create a page, I go to the page and make sure I'm in this page already when I create it, and it will automatically by default be related to this property, the Enoch Leffingwell Instagram profile, for example. So that is what helps to keep track of that very easily. And then the next thing that the next mistake is not tracking content formats. I found that by being able to have different content formats, one thing that I did is I created a content formats database, and this was extremely clarifying for me. I got the idea because I invested like $2,000 into these courses that were teaching how to turn your content into a career so you could do it full time. And one of the things that they mentioned is they gave me like this list of 70 different formats that you could choose for creating content consistently, becoming a content creator. And by having a format, a lot of times what automates the decisions, make it so much easier, is taking a format, sticking with it, and doing it again and again. It makes it so much easier to create content, so you're not always reinventing the wheel. So they gave me a list of like 70 different examples, and I thought it was so helpful that I notionized it. That's a word that I made up, and basically turned that resource into a database, and I started adding to it over the years. That was back in 2018, so now I got 148 different contents. So some of them are like polls you can ask, live videos, I use that a lot. And then quote cards, I just showed you what that's like. And there's coaching call recordings, online course or program, emails, different types of formats that could be given for emails. I keep track of my emails this way. And basically every piece of content that I have fits under one of these categories. And it doesn't mean I've created 148 different formats. There's only a handful that I really gravitate to the most. I originally had this resource to just help my brain understand what is even available to create content, so I could pick my style or the kind of things that make sense for me. So I've got keynote talks and different ways to frame content. Here's a reel and a short, so all of our reels are related here, and they allow us to keep track of things. So we could reference this. The fact that it's on a database now means that we can reference this in our content tracker, which is really convenient. You can see right here the formats property. This is a relation, and it's shown by this little icon. And when you go to the edit type, this is only a one-way. I have it limited on one page. That means there's only one type of format this piece of content could be, because it's one page per content piece. And if it's only one piece of content, it could only be one type of format. So the format here is like a screen recording, which is what I'm doing right now, screencasting. And then you could see on here that we've got carousels, we got reels. We're able to choose that. But all of these are automatically added when I upload it. So it's rare that a video goes where it doesn't have this, because inside the filter, we just make sure that whenever we create a page, it's showing that the format is not empty. And that helps tremendously for keeping track of content that way. So The mistake was not tracking the content formats. So the solution, using a content formats database. That database has been very helpful for clarifying and keeping track of different content formats. And then mistake number 7 is not having a consistent naming convention. And I learned about naming conventions as I continued to research. I was learning about systemizing content, and one of the things that you can do, one of the things that I have done is created a system for naming files, and we've systemized how we name these files. I put this in my system hub. I've got a database where I keep track of the systems that we use to run our business, and you can see an example. What we have is we have the source, we have the platform, the format, and then a description of what the video is about. And we realized that that worked pretty good. And as I invested in Peng Joon's content multiplier course, I've done a lot of research with Gary Vee's content repurposing process, and I bought Brendan Burchard's circular virality that shows about how to repurpose content and keep track of things. And I noticed that they all had a very consistent naming convention that made it a lot easier to keep track of. And I put this in a sync block because we're able to put this on the different pages where it is relevant for people to be able to reference this, the naming conventions of what these platforms represent. So that helps my team to be able to keep track of things. These sync blocks are helpful. You can put them wherever you want on any page. And we've got different formats, represents frequent types of content that we publish. And then our products, abbreviations, we standardize that. And then how that shows up in our database, you can see DLV stands for Daily Live Video, and then it's why not just share the steps in a framework. So that was the last one that I posted. That was a live video that I posted last Tuesday. We have a high income business accelerator program. We have the date of when the coaching call was, and we just summarized the gist of what it was. I talked a lot about storytelling and how you can use like any story of your past or experience to sell your health products and programs. And that was a really fun coaching call and discussion about content creation. So we've got different types of videos, and we keep track of that in the naming convention. This is useful because sometimes when you want to automate something, like I'm going to open up, view the automations. Let's say when a microblog is finished, I want to be able to send an email. So there is the naming convention starts with EM. EM is our naming convention for emails, and then we can start using that as a trigger that when Kamran finishes writing an email and he sets it to publishing, then, well, actually when I set it to publishing, because I'll review it, this is when he sets it for ready to review, sends me an email. Then I get it in my email, and then I review it, and I'm like, yep, this is good, set it to publishing, and then it's going to send him an email to say, you're good to go, you can publish it. And so it gets scheduled. So that's really convenient because there's no limit to like your ability to automate for specific types of content is going to be helpful with the naming convention. It's helpful for the formats, really helpful for the formats. One thing I've learned about automation is that automation loves data. So the more structured the data can be, the better. Now, this may seem like a lot, but the thing is, like, keep in mind, these things are happening automatically. I don't have me or my team clicking here and selecting each one of these. Even many of these are being generated by AI. Like when we open this up, these are often created where they have they're automatically generated through that process, which makes it very convenient. So that is something that's another mistake that I made, is not having consistent naming conventions. It was a mess. It was hard to find stuff, hard to identify things. So we use the same naming convention. This is the name of the pages on Notion, as you can see. It's also the name of the files on our file manager, and it's also the name of our Canva projects. If we have slides that go along with the video, it's going to be the same name there, and we use it again and again. And a quick tip is you can actually have AI to create the naming convention for you. So one thing is just train AI on what your naming convention formula is, and then it will generate it for you when it creates new pages with the automation. So I did that here, where I just put this at the bottom of whatever my instructions are, and I say, hey, also provide this a naming convention for each post. And like here, I'm turning a long video into a microblog, and I ask for 3 microblogs. So I give them the text and then the format of what it looks like, and they follow this very well, and then it's able to keep consistent with everything on our database. So that has been very good, very, very helpful for me. And then, and if you'd like, I could actually do a video where I break down a little bit in more detail about this master content calendar database. I won't be doing that in this video, but that could be something else. Any of these tips that you want to see more of or learn more about, like put it down in the comment your question, and I'll see about recording the next video for you. So the next mistake was, the way to solve it is create a consistent system for naming content, pages, and files. Big difference. Mistake number 8 is storing content in pages. Now what I mean by that is content, I mean the pages are really powerful in being able to keep content together. What I did for several years on Notion is I use these for like templates. So I had the outline of what I was going to be talking about, and there's some hooks that I had some ideas, and I would upload either the audio file or the video file. Let me get out of that. Discard. So I'd have some of the different content in a toggle or loaded on the page. This is a page section, and this is the property section. So what I learned is that n8n and automations, they absolutely love properties. And the way the API works, it's hard to work with content that is in Notion pages, so I stopped using it. When I started using n8n 4 months ago, in a large degree, I stopped loading information on here, and I started loading them on properties. So there are really cool templates, like if I open up this coaching call, there's really cool templates that you're able to use, and we do, like you can see here, but I used to put them in the video file. I used to have my team put the transcription here. We would manually copy and paste into Otter, and then copy the transcription, put it here, and this would be our single source of truth where we'd access it. But I stopped doing that. Now, as I showed you earlier, we have a transcription property to keep track of that. And one of the ways that you can avoid those issues is by being able to create this right here, an inline database inside the your page. So you could still load a template, but your template would basically have these databases that you can now edit. So we're still editing properties, but now we're able to see just the properties that are related to this content. So that would also require a relation property that you relate it to this content page up above. And that makes things so much easier. Like even these quotables, if we were going to keep track of the quotables, we could just add it here, and whatever quotable that we have is going to be related to this piece of content that we have. So it makes it very easy to just put databases inside of your pages instead of loading them here. That was huge, because now n8n can use the API to access these properties very, very easily, but they cannot do it as long as it is in a page. So another tip that I have is that I have learned to be very generous with the properties. Like, don't be afraid to add a lot of properties, because in n8n you could easily ignore the ones that aren't relevant, but as you can see, I've actually got quite a few of properties here, and I use them for different things, and that's okay. That used to be 4 months ago, I didn't have so many properties, but since using n8n, I began to realize that's just how n8n works, and I want to be able to automate it, and my team, they learned how to handle it and work with it. So that is something that has been very, very helpful. So that was another mistake that I made, is storing content in pages. So then I started to storing content in properties exclusively, like primarily, and the only thing I'm editing in a page is really an inline view to a database where I'm editing properties. So that was a huge mindset shift that I made when automating Notion that made everything so much easier. The ninth mistake is storing content on Google Drive Cloud. See, I had a Google Drive. I've been paying for Google Drive storage since I was 18, so I'm 30 now. That's 12 years. So every month I've been paying $10 happily. I'm glad. But I first started using Google Drive to store my videos, and it just started to fill up very quickly because, like I mentioned, I've recorded thousands of videos, and it was about when I got to the 1.5 terabyte space, I realized I was like 3/4 of the way filling up my 2 terabyte allowance on Google Drive. They give you 15 gigabytes for free, by the way, if you don't know, which is cool for a time, but I was seeing that I'm going to run out of 2 terabytes. What am I going to do? So I started to buy, like I have a NAS system, Synology, that allows me to create a server at our office where anyone from their laptops can plug into our content machine, and it's also synced with the cloud, so that's convenient. But as far as like, I want to have backups for my backups for my backups. So one thing that I've done actually is I will create separate YouTube channels so that I can store some files. Sometimes they could be unlisted, sometimes they could be like published content. And I find that by storing the videos on YouTube, that's like, they give you unlimited storage there, so that's been pretty cool. But one thing that was really eye-opening to me is realizing that I can actually store on Notion itself. You could store videos. A lot of people don't realize that this is even an option. So here's an example from Notion themselves about files and media. It says, are there size limits for images and files? That includes video, MP4, audio, and pictures. So while you can upload unlimited number of images and files on Notions, there are limits on the size of each image file. And since I got this, let me turn this pen on. Oh, there we go. So if you're on the free plan, you could do up to 5 megabytes each, but on the paid plan, you could do 5 gigabytes. Now, I want you to think about that. How large is your average video size? Is it more than 5 gigabytes or is it less? Like, this is extremely generous and very eye-opening. And you can upload unlimited number of files into Notion. When you just pay for the Plus plan or above, you can have unlimited 5 gigabyte files to Notion, which is mind-boggling if you ask me. So that was a revelation that I got, is that on the free plan you got 5 megabytes unlimited blocks. On the paid plan you have 5 gigabytes unlimited blocks and unlimited property file uploads. So think about like the average size of your files. Audio files are usually like a 1 hour audio file is maybe 100 megabytes. So that's covered on the paid plan. MP3, like a song, you could upload music there. And images are covered. They're usually within the allowed time, and even documents. So that was really eye-opening to me. And that's why, if you may have noticed, that you can actually upload, like this video right here is a 2.5 hour video. When you click it, this is stored on Notion servers on the clouds. This is 2 hours and 6 minutes. 2 hours and 6 minutes, and that's me going through coaching my clients and working with them. So this is really eye-opening once you realize that there's a lot of storage there that can be done, and it's about the price of Google Drive. So I don't know why people don't use it more often. A lot of folks, they'll say like Notion isn't designed for it. I mean, I looked through the privacy, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I've looked through how what they require, what they allow, and I didn't see it was violating any terms. And I was trying to see, I was really Like there was a war in my heart to contemplate, do I really want to go all in on backing up my files to Notion? And I researched and I couldn't find any reason why not to. So except there's a few people who are like, it's not meant for that, so use Google Drive instead, or use Airtable, or use something else, or upload it to Amazon or what have you. But I realized that I've never had an issue with it, and I've been able to do it for several years. So a lot of people don't know that. Now that is a game changer for me. So that's what I do, and so being able to store it on Notion Cloud, that has helped. Now, mistake number 10, adding temporary external links to file properties. The way that Notion handles file properties is very differently. So here's a use case. For example, let's say I'm on this view and I want to clip this video. So I have this coaching call that I'm doing. I'm going to click on here to go to, I'm going to say clip. Yeah, video to short clips. So that's going to run an automation on n8n that's going to cut up this 2-hour video I just showed you and give me about 10 or 15 short clips that I could use. That's what that's going to do. But what happens is, like if you look at this example, this is what my reels look like, and it has RL for reels, and these are the little video clips in there. Now sometimes they look like video files, like there's a video file property, and that's what I use to run this. And with the video file property, you select files and media. But sometimes it may look like it's hosted there, but it actually isn't. And the way that Notion handles some of these things, let me pull it up for you. So I've got this automation that runs, and it should have been, it isn't this one. But the way that, let's say you're going to add like a Notion create, and you're going to create a database page, and I will zoom in a bit, and you're going to type in, let's say I'm going to type in this master content calendar. There we go. So this, just clicked out of it. There it is. In this master content calendar, you've got a, if we're going to add a page and you're using the built-in Notion node, one thing that I learned about this, which is very different, is that master content. Let's see here. I want to make sure that it's there. Well, one thing that I've realized is that when you're adding a page, then it will have, maybe what I could do is AI output. I have a database where I post all of my AI media. There it is. Okay, click the wrong button. All right, now when you're creating a property, it's going to load these properties, and then still it's creating a page. Anyways, I wish I could pull it up for you guys, but there is a property. Oh, there we go. Media file. There we go. And then this node right here, it's asking for a file URL. So let's say you have a video that is hosted by like Vizard. Vizard chops up your video and wants to send it to you, or AI generates an image and you want to upload that image and they give you a URL. Well, this thing is only going to store, it may look like it is it is uploading the video file to the file property. So by here, it looks just like everything else. You can't tell the difference. But when a lot of these companies, they give a temporary link. So when you're actually using this node, then you're actually, Notion is storing a reference to the link. It doesn't actually upload to Notion storage, which they use Amazon storage. So when you click it, if it's temporary, then you're going to get this access denied, it doesn't exist. So I found that I was doing that, especially with my short video clips. When I got a link from Vizard, it started with like CDN or something some website, and it was a temporary link. They expected me to download it and then store it somewhere else. I didn't know that. So in order to upload it, I had to not reference their temporary link, and I had to use the binary files and upload the binary files to the file property. That way it could be uploaded to Notion's server, and it would handle correctly. So you might be asking, well, what does binary data mean? When I asked ChatGPT, they basically said it's the ones and zeros. That makes the binary is 2, so it's the ones and zeros. And somehow it's the actual literal file, where most of the time we have a link to a file, but this is the actual file when it's stored on your computer or on a flash drive or on your phone, and it's taking up all that space. Like, that is not a link or a reference, it is the actual file. So we have to upload the real file to Notion, but in order to do that, we need to treat it differently. So what I did is I actually created this this workflow that will automatically trigger, and it will replace the video link. It's going to replace the video link whenever that link comes in from Vizard with the little short 30-second clips. Then it's going to download the MP4 into binary, and then Notion allows you to upload easily anything that's below 20 megabytes, and Notion has this 3-step protocol in order to upload binary images, audio, or video. So as long as the video is under 20 megabytes, which most of the short clips are, then it works perfectly fine going through this process. And you can find this on the Notion API documentation. This is what I've done, and honestly, I copy and I paste this. I save this. Every time I want to upload a binary file to a Notion file property, which you absolutely can do, it's just the same process here every time. And it's fairly straightforward. Sometimes you may have to change what type of content from like a MP4 to a PNG or whatever image file it is, but these are easy to modify. It's mostly here and here, and then this will create and upload slots somewhere in Notion servers, and this actually uploads the file to the slot. And then step 3 is now going to take the file that's on Notion server and connect it to the actual property that you get from further on in your database. So that process has made it very easy, and I copy and paste this every time I want to upload an image or a video to Notion. But if it's over 20 megabytes, then they want you to chunk it, and chunking it down, I don't fully understand how that works or what that looks like, but here is the instructions, and they want you to, if it's over 20 megabytes, then they want you to split command, which I don't know how to do this. So if any of you watching know how to like break up a, let's say, 2 gigabyte video into 20 megabyte sections and be able to upload this chunked binary data to a Notion file property from these instructions, like, hey, if you could teach me, record a video, I would watch it, I would be so grateful for you. But I've talked to ChatGPT and back, and I do not understand this process. It doesn't connect with me, but this is a 3-step process that is being talked about. However, what I was able to get it to do is, as long as it's under 20 megabytes, then I can keep all those, and it will just go straight through the normal way without having to chunk somehow to get it through there first. So that's something that a mistake that I made in the beginning was thinking that these temporary external links, they were just gonna they were actually uploading to Notion file properties because they look like it, but they weren't. They were kind of deceptive, but under the hood, the way that Notion handles files is that it's just referencing the external link. And if the external link is temporary to begin with, it won't last. Now that's different, whereas you're dealing with like a YouTube link like this is not temporary. That's going to be a permanent link. You could always reference it, use it, and that's fine. I have a URL property for that. But if you store your content on Google Drive and you want to pay for those storage, then even you could reference a Google Drive link to a video file property, and it would still work pretty well and it won't expire. But if you're using temporary like download links that some automations APIs give you, that gave me some headaches until I learned this, and those headaches went away. So that was worked better than Advil. I'm just playing. I don't take Advil. I've never had it. I don't even know if that's a headache medicine. So I clicked the wrong button now. Mistake number 11, referencing old Notion file property links. Now that might sound similar as the last mistake, but this is different, and I'll tell you why. Because what Notion does is whenever the API runs, it's actually going to give you a temporary link that it's going to give you a temporary link and to the files. So if we're going to look at the schema here, like that link right here, this is a temporary link that came from Vizard, and this thing won't work if we click on it. When it's uploaded to Notion, they give us a different link, and that link only exists for a moment. So if we want to access the actual video file property, Notion API gives you 1 hour to access it, 1 hour to be able to put in and upload it to a scheduler, social media, or upload it anywhere else. So as long as you do it within an hour, it should work. I mean, it does work. I've done it multiple times. So this link is important. Ensure that their file properties are links are used within 1 hour. That makes it so much easier, and which leads me to the mistake number 12, and I'll give you an example of what that looks like. Before, what I would do, because I didn't know how to get these links out to in a usable way for another tool to access, even I'm talking about like a 2-hour video that may be 2 gigabytes, 3 gigabytes, you can send those using Notion API in these file properties, but it's going to, what I used to do is I had to manually download these large files to post them on YouTube, because if you're using YouTube API in Notion, then they require you to give binary. But if you're putting a 2 gigabyte binary file through your workflow, it's going to crash most people's servers. Like, it's just not designed to do that. So I found that the hard way. I can't send a large multi-gigabyte file, binary file, through my workflow. So what I learned instead is that we can use tools like these social media schedulers that will push out from Notion to YouTube. So literally this video, when it's done being published, I'm going to click a button on my content tracker. In fact, these videos that got here, these screencasting videos got to YouTube because I pushed this button here, and I've got schedule with late. When I click that button, it's going to automatically send at the time that I want it to be published and scheduled, and then it will upload it to YouTube using this video property, and this is the actual file. And they'll give this, Notion will create a signed, authorized link from Amazon that only lasts for an hour, but it's okay because these softwares, they're able to upload it to their server, host it for a while, or they upload immediately and put the time when you schedule it. So tools you can use, I use Publer. I've used it for years, and Publer, when I first started using n8n, they didn't have an API, but they do now, which I'm really happy about that. I pay Publer $13 a month, and I have 7 social media accounts with Publer to be able to schedule on these platforms, and it's been going very good for me. And Publer now has API that you can access it to, but before that I had to use a CSV file spreadsheet to provide this link in this 1 hour authorized link. And as long as Shanice on my team, she would take that CSV, import it, like bulk import to Publer, she would be able to upload up to 500 posts in one import. And as long as she does it within an hour, then it'll work. But the good news is Publer and n8n make it possible. She could do it in 8 minutes, where used to be she would manually download, then she would upload to Publer, and it would take like an hour and a half every week. And then I created one automation that now brings it down to 8 minutes to do it. Whether she's doing 18 or 500, she's able to do it in 8 minutes. It's about how long it takes from beginning to end. So that's well below the 1 hour limit that Notion gives you. Blotato, I know people have used that and they enjoy it. It seems like in the n8n automation world, Blotato has a lot of like credibility, because I've been on some of her coaching calls from Sabrina. I really like her. I like her content. I didn't find the Blotato to be really what I was looking for the AI video creation, but I was on it before learning about n8n, and I see that a lot of people like Blotato for the ability to publish and access their API. She's very generous with it, where a lot of social media schedulers do not do that because they don't want it to hurt their reputation. Now, I've learned about Late. Late was a deal on AppSumo and is getlate.dev. And what's cool about Late is that Late is actually a publishing tool. Late.dev. It's getlate.dev. Oops. And this is actually a social media scheduling tool for developers. It is a API focused social media scheduling tool, which I thought was very interesting. And as you can see, some of these other tools like Hootsuite, Buffer, I've used that for years too, until I found Publer, and I love Publer. Publer's great. But this is actually, and they now have an official community node, which you could check out. My YouTube channel, I went into showing you how you can install it very quickly, and they give you no code dashboard, but it's also really a simple API. You can get it set up pretty quickly, and they allow you to publish. It's very generous, the terms. So I got a lifetime deal here, and I plan on using Late as much as possible, and I'll start easing away from Publer. But Publer's just been so good to me, so I haven't. There's some features in there that Late doesn't do, but I'm very happy with Late. I'm very happy with Publer. That's what I'd recommend. But I just want to let you know about Blotato because a lot of people talk about it. Now, with social media scheduling, these tools, you can actually schedule content from Notion file properties using them. And they are large files, which just blows my mind and makes my heart so happy because it's easy to just upload them and they're already on YouTube. So, mistake number 13, using purely AI generated content. I find that when you're telling it to research and create content, it doesn't have my voice, doesn't have my stories, and sometimes it hallucinates, makes up facts that's just not true, or things that I wouldn't really say. So instead of just using AI generated content that just publish out there without much thought, what I found works really good, and it's authentic for me, is by being able to repurpose my transcripts with AI. See, I record videos, a lot of videos, and from these videos, if I can have AI transcribe it, then I can have AI analyze what I said. Then it can take my stories, my concepts, my ideas, and able to repurpose them into useful different messages. So if I go to, let's say, I'm going to go to editing microblogs. Microblogs is one of the first workflows that I ever did. Is I'll be able to click a button, and one button on the workflow status, and I'll go to transcript to 3x microblogs. Then that's how these get created. And as you can see, it has my naming convention, and then it has body copy. This would need to be edited here, but then there's some that are reviewing, some marked for publishing. So I'll show you some of them that have been published. Here's some examples, like here's something I said, I believe, in a sermon. Yeah, I was in a sermon. says, I used to believe I was born by mistake, so I must be a mistake. My past was the reason why I couldn't change. Or the Bible says, brethren, I count not myself to have apprehended, but this one thing I do, forgetting those things which are behind. What does this mean? Your past isn't your prison, it's your preparation. As health educators, we see people clinging to old failures, replaying mistakes, letting yesterday's shame shape today's choices. So these are the types of things that I shared in a sermon. And I said, if what I shared, if that speaks to you, this is just a glimpse of what I shared in my sermon, why there's no sin too dirty that Christ cannot cleanse. If you want the full video, comment sermon, I'll send you the link. Now, that's what I did. But what's cool is it actually had my story. And what's nice about this is, like this one, it says, want unlimited free burgers? My friend asked, waving a receipt with a survey code. Little did I know, this question would lead to a life-changing wake-up call. There I was, 12 years old, huddled with my friends at Burger King, gaming their system. We ate Big Whopper after burger, and all I had to do was fill out a survey, pay for the first burger, and all the rest were free. And basically, I ended up having a heart attack at age 12. And that's when it hit me, all these burgers. They really, like, you become the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So that was a lesson I shared, but it literally took it from a transcript and it formatted it in a microblog that was good. And that's something I would say that I would post with minimal editing, and it generated some images that I have, and it has a prompt for it. So that was a workflow that was really helpful for me. I took a training that was showing how powerful these microblogs could be, and these could also be turned into emails that are sent out to people, and they get high engagement, and people, health educators, my ideal clients, they reach out to me and they're like, you're speaking my language, this is exactly what I needed. I've been able to get new clients through this process, and the way that I have it set up is I just click on workflow status on one of the videos, and I just type transcript to 3x microblog, and then within a few seconds, then I'll get 3 of these microblogs all published. Not published, but written as a rough draft, ready for, then I have humans in the loop, which is either me or a team. I have 2 editors that help polish it up to get it closer to the goal, and then I'll review them, and I'll say yay or nay whenever going through that process. And we have the DRI, directly responsible individual. That's who's responsible for it here. Here's editors. I've edited, Sherry's edited, so we've made progress there. And that's an automation on Notion that automatically adds the person whenever someone types in here. So if I click here, you'll see that my name will automatically appear as the editor right there, now that it ran. So that's what I mean by transcribing, repurposing from transcripts. Then it has my voice, it has my words, my stories, my concepts, the things that I've actually expressed and taught. So that's what has been very helpful. And then mistake number 14 is editing AI agent prompts in n8n. When I first started, n8n had really, they have powerful tools. They have powerful AI agents, but what I like to do is I actually edit all my prompts in a prompt database. This helps me keep track of what I want to teach and what I want to share. So I've got this chat with transcript, which is basically 36 ways that I could automate my content creation from my transcript. So I could extract stories and examples from my transcripts, and this is one that I taught my team member how to build, where she wrote this together, and it's like, you're an emotional sales expert that specializes in extracting compelling stories and examples from video transcripts. So I got the role, the task, and I've got some rules of what I want to take out from when I speak. She uses this to help create slide presentations for me, and it's been very helpful. So she's able to insert a transcript here of what I've talked about that we use Uniscribe or a Symbol AI to create. Then you're able to put out the output, and then here it has the examples where I was teaching about frameworks, and the first time I learned about a framework, that was a story I said. I'm like, yeah, that's true. Or a client of mine who was able to get her first $3,000 clients. She signed up 3 in one day, using these story selling principles that I've been teaching. And then there's other examples that I gave in there. And my point of saying this is we basically build the instructions for all of our n8n agents here. And one of the reasons I do it on Notion is because I found that if the AI instructions is in the workflow, some of my team gets intimidated by n8n, or some of them are not sure how to find it, or they get confused what node to open or look at. And honestly, for me, even I like editing in Notion a lot more than I like editing in n8n. So what I do is I created this prompt database, and this prompt database helps me to keep track of everything that I would say here in the prompt, and then I will actually reference this prompt in the Notion or in the workflow. So an example I will show you. If I go to executions, this looks like this was successful. So what's cool about these is, as you can see, I have, first of all, I'm going to start, it's going to search for anything that changes the workflow status to on the prompt database. All I have to do is, like, let's say I'm going to delete this, and then I change the workflow status to text, either ready to generate or text to text. Well, I'm going to just say ready to generate. And then in a few seconds, it'll say automation in progress. And when that automation in progress is right there, it's going to output the AI information right on this property, which makes it so convenient. And this, being able to basically create an AI agent within seconds, or just a few moments on a Notion property, all I have to do is create a new page and answer some of those, and then boom, I've got myself an agent that has the instructions I'm looking for, and then I could do rapid iteration and testing. I could tweak, and all I have to do is change some custom instructions. Most of the stuff that we change is the rules. We end up changing rules and of what we want, and we read the AI output. There it is, it's already there, and it says done. And then now it has some similar experiences and stories that I shared from there. And we could just go back and forth and test this as many times as I want. And I use OpenRouter to be able to do that, and these LLM nodes. And the main thing that I use is these texts. Here is the one that just ran, and these make it so much easier, where there's text to text, and what I'm saying about referencing it is, as you can see, there's only two references here, and they come from the Notion property for essentially this. What I have is you see it's all put together. So you might be saying, like, well, how do you have all of these combined with the transcript, just with those two? And the way that I have it set up is I have this AI prompt generator code, and what this does is it takes the property from the task, the role that I showed you, the task, the definition, the rules and instructions, the output format. It basically puts all these properties and brings it all into one prompt that can be referenced and used. And then it ends with, these are custom instructions are provided for you to consider when performing this task. This allows me that I can use this prompt to run everything. And on the prompt database, all I've got to do is I have this custom instructions property. I could put anything there when I run, and it's unique. So this prompt database works really well. But when I want to use the exact same prompt for my workflow status for creating content, then I will replace it with this transcript. Here's a transcript. So it'll be able to run it on any of these, which is really convenient too. So an example that I've got is how to use any story to sell any program. I can have stories and examples. That's the same transcript that's coming from this database that I just showed you. And when that runs, it's actually going to add there, you see it's automation progress. That's how I know that it's working. And then it's going to put the answer under AI output relation property. So this is something I just created this last week. There it goes. It just opened up right there. And now I can actually open this and I could see this page is going to contain the origin story and all those things. So now it just added it as a relation property to my content tracker. So that makes it very easy. And I could do that with as many different types as I want. So that's been pretty convenient, and it's using the same prompt. I also use this prompt database to structure my custom agents for my AI software that I built that for helping health educators monetize their knowledge online. And that has been a invaluable way to be able to test and tweak very quickly to run and get iterations. And I wanted a way to keep track of all my favorite best prompts, and this is how I've been able to do it. So we've got one for a distribution email that I mentioned, and I think I'll do some videos about this. Again, you could take a screenshot of any of these. If you want me to go into more detail or record a video showing you, I could go into detail about the prompt, just let me know, and I'll be happy to show you that in the future. But that was the next mistake, is learning to edit all the prompts in a prompt database, because from this database becomes a single source of truth for my AI software, from my n8n workflows to the database, and I'm able to use it wherever I want or share it with other clients or people. Mistake 15, using n8n native Notion nodes for AI output to text properties. And what I mean by that is if we go back into this workflow that we were just looking at, then we'll see that I'm not using a Notion node. What happens is if you have like update a Notion status, let's copy this to editor. So if you have an update Notion native node here, and you wanted to add the AI output, for example, and let's say we're going to add this is a text property, and we're going to take what was generated from the AI text here, we're going to put it here. That doesn't actually work for a few reasons. When we hit execute, notice, it probably won't happen because I didn't pin those information. Yeah, I didn't pin it right there. But what happens is you get an error message and it says that it's beyond the 2000 limit. So Notion limits you to 2000. This is another way how Notion API works. You can only put 2000 texts at a time into one text property through the API. Now, text properties can contain a massive amount of information, but you need to be able to put, let me pin this. I'm gonna hit P to pin it. So I'm gonna click that, hit pin, and now when I update this, I should be able to, there we go. So now when I hit execute, let's see them go through here. And there, it's an error, right? So what they're saying is that the text length needs to be equal to or less than 2000, and instead the AI output was 4000. So what I found is using these native n8n nodes doesn't really work well for really any time I want to put text into a text property. And even if it might sometimes work when it's under 2000, like I've done it with the emails for a while, sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. So it's just safer. What I've done is I have this called add AI output, and I use the same node for every workflow. I literally copy this and I paste it to whatever workflow I want. Anytime I want a AI output to be added to a text property, I keep the exact same name, AI output database. On the prompt database, it's literally called AI output, and it's just a regular text property right here. And I keep it the same. One, because this is going to make it where I have to edit less. into the workflow, and I could reuse it. I could copy and paste, and it's already set up the way that it needs to be. So this AI output, it's actually a fairly simple text here, but it has a property, it has a rich text. I found that when working with Notion and I am using the body, it helps when I use this stringify, which I don't really know what that means, but I just know that every time I went back and forth with ChatGPT, it never worked unless I used that. So that has been good. And as you can see, it's very simple here, but when I do it that way, it works. So what I have to do is actually, I have to chunk the output. So as it goes through, I have a code node, which I don't understand how this stuff works. You can take a screenshot, copy fish if you want, but what it does is it takes the text from the AI, and then it's going to cut it up into these 2,000 character limits. And now there's like 3 different texts right here, as you could see, and now it's chunked, and that's what Notion requires. So once I could put this in this Notion text of 3 chunks of 2,000, then this HTTP request node will actually send the entire, 8,000 or 4,000 character AI message here, and it works just fine. So I've reused this again and again and again, and it's very helpful for what we want to do. So that is another mistake that I learned, is using the native nodes for putting the AI output into text properties. Instead, you want to use a chunking method that Notion API recommended and that code node does, plus an HTTP request node. Use the same request node every time, and it simplifies it. I built it once. I've never had to edit it again, so that's been helpful. Mistake number 16 is similar. Is what I found also is that when I first started putting AI content into a text content into one of these, then what happened was it came out, it was like text to text raw. It had all this markdown, and the markdown had asterisks and like these stars and bold and underline and all this stuff, and it made it harder to read, and I didn't like that. So what I ended up doing was I talked to ChatGPT and I asked it to get rid of all that markdown. So I have this remove markdown from AI, and I don't fully understand what it means, but it basically replaces all the markdown type related code, and it just makes it plain text. So because AI outputs in markdown, and I know there's a way to give rich text to a text property, but as you can see, there's like this is supposed to be bold, and it just has these asterisks, which makes it look kind of ugly or bad. I don't really like that. So it was harder for my team to read through, and it made it less enjoyable for them. So I just created one that I created this node to remove markdown, and I also reuse this every time that I send from AI to the AI output text property on any database. So there's multiple databases I do this. I always just copy the same process here. I copy these 4 and I paste it onto the new database, and it works the same way, and it follows along here. And I use OpenRouter. I'm using DeepSeek for all of my AI, and I transcribe a lot, and I repurpose a lot of transcripts. But I've probably spent $4 in the last 4 months of OpenAI. It's really amazing. It's about $1 a month for me, and I'm just using it generously to my little heart's content, and it runs all of my content repurposing from transcripts. So about $1 a month. I like that. I asked AI what was the cheapest model, and they found DeepSeek Chat, and I like it. So that is something that I found was really helpful, is replacing the markdown. So that was the solution, was send plain text to the properties. It makes it easier to read, which brings me to the next mistake, 17, publishing content with em dashes. Em dashes, first of all, you might be asking, what's an em dash? An em dash is this long little dash right here that you could see that if I could get my head out of the way, it's this long dash, here we go, right here. And AI is notorious for adding it all over the place. There's also n dashes and there's hyphens. But AI, one of the tall tale signs that something was created by AI is that it has these m dashes, and people read it and they don't like it. They were used beforehand, but the amount of m dash usage has skyrocketed since AI came about. So even to a point where they have funny like memes where they will post like, this guy's like, ChatGPT, please just use periods like a normal AI. And ChatGPT refuses and instead says ChatGPT m dash leaves just periods m dash like a normal AI m dash. And he looks all defeated and he's just like, oh, and there's like, oh, m dash. So I mean, no matter, I've tried prompting, never under any circumstance use an m dash. I've researched, I've watched videos, I've asked people in AI forums, and everybody has these different ideas of how to fix it. But at the end of the day, like, I've never really found someone who's expressed something that worked for me, or that actually was able to consistently get those results. I tried putting that in all my different prompts, and there's no way to prompt it. When people go back and forth, they're like, stop using m dashes, and they say, got it, with an m dash. Or they're like, okay, I won't do that anymore. And there's like 5 m dashes in a three-word sentence. So something about AI and m dashes is crazy. So what I found is that you can actually use a code node to replace m dashes with a comma plus a space. So I'll show you what that looks like. At the very bottom of all this, I realized that not only can you remove the markdown and replace it, well, I was like, well, what if we replace the m dash with a comma and a space? Because my team and I, we were spending a decent amount of time going through the microblogs and content AI generated to just replace the m dash with a comma and a space. And it was just taking a while. And I'm like, well, there's got to be a way to automate it. And sure enough, there was. So a lot of these tedious things can be automated. That one little line that I have here highlighted, this will fix it. And I've never had the issue ever again. Wherever I put this node, it removes the m dashes and it works really well. So I like it a lot. That is a tip. Officially, like, solve the problem once and for all. No more debate, no more challenge, no more pulling out your hair. If you've ever struggled with that, it is great. Mistake number 8, overusing scheduled triggers. When I first started, I needed to know how to automate, like what would be my trigger. So what I ended up doing was I didn't know anything about webhooks. I've never created one. So I used a schedule node. And this schedule node, I set it for like every 15 seconds. And so you could choose days or seconds. And I went over, I think it was every 30 seconds. Yeah. And I made that be the trigger for checking, and it would, every 30 seconds it would check, and as it would check, as I changed the workflow status, the way that I did it was I decided that I would create this property called workflow status, and I would create a select property, and whatever I choose here, that's what it would be. And when I click it, then within 30 seconds it would update. But the problem with that is my n8n instance, my n8n, it tells me when these, how many executions I have, and it was like 200,000 in my first couple weeks of using n8n. Really the first month and a half, it was like thousands of them. So I guess they don't show it now, but it was before. And it would tell me how many times they would execute. So that was, it was hundreds of thousands each week. So I was like, something's got to change here. And I didn't know better. So then what I ended up doing was using a webhook. And I learned how to use a webhook, and that was very helpful for me, is using the webhook triggers. And the way that you set that up is essentially, you're going to go into the automation, you click to create a new automation. Let me switch where my head is. And you're going to choose, I did workflow status, and I use the same name of the property for everything. And then I actually select it where it's like not started, created by Pabli. Instead of having to update this every time I add a new workflow or like a new select, I did the opposite. I said is not one of these, like transcribe, to review, to schedule, done. These are all the ones that are, there's actually a lot less of these. These are ones that aren't designed to trigger a workflow. Everything else is. So by doing it reversed, as long as it's not one of these, then it's changed to everything else, then I can continue to add a new one and I don't have to update this webhook. So I found that was pretty convenient. And so when that's changed, then the new action, you look for send webhook, which I've never really done that before. You could essentially go to your webhook node and grab whatever whatever thing that you want. So I'm gonna go webhook trigger, and this link you could post, you could type content galore, whatever you want to put there, and then you can copy link, and then you go send that over to here. And as long as it's in test mode. If you want it in production mode, you just delete it and it's good to go. I select to send everything and keep it simple, and that's it. Then that's how you set up the webhook, and then you click enable and you're good to go. And discard. That's as far as Notion side. But as far as n8n side, Notion wants a specific type of confirmation. And when you confirm your, the way that I have it confirmed is going to respond using webhook node. And as I do the confirm respond using webhook node, then we look for that one and we say, I'm going to type in webhook, and respond to webhook. And this Notion wants to see the specific thing that's being sent. I hope there's nothing specific or private here that I can't be sharing, but that's basically what you send. And then as I respond with JSON, then I put it there. And as long as I plugged it in here and I set this up, so it's respond here, and then I believe that's all I did. And then it started to work. And again, you set it up one time and now I use it for everything. So I literally copy that and I paste it on every single workflow, and it works really well. But that this webhook is like a doorbell, and it will, when an event happens, it sends a message and it's able to use it again and again. So that was that was really helpful for me. Now I could get instant feedback. I could delete the scheduled node. I don't have to rely on it every 30 seconds doing an execution, successful execution that stops right here. And this one is I also have for every workflow. And the way that I trigger it is I grab the workflow status. And when the workflow status says whatever I want this workflow to do, then it's good to go. And that's how I make it trigger. And that has been really helpful for me. And so this workflow status is really the foundation of my entire, yeah, let's not do that. This has been the foundation of my entire automation strategy right here. And then, yeah, so this webhook trigger has been helpful. But then what I did is, another mistake is from database to database, I started using different names, like statuses for that trigger. But when I started using a consistent name, workflow status for everything, like you saw it on my AI prompt database, it's on my master content calendar, it's on my Bible reading calendar, anything that I want to automate, I always use the same workflow status. That allows me to be able to copy these right here. These nodes get copied, all four, when starting everything on Notion. That's how I copy, I automate all Notion workflows. And I don't have to change here, I don't have to change here. It could be the consistent and still work the same way because it's the exact same name. If you change the name of the property, then you have to go in and customize and change more of this stuff. So I'm not just here to build a workflow, I want to build a system, a content machine that's working and operating constantly in the background, making sure everything flows correctly. So I'm thinking about how could I automate in this structure of the big picture, like think of the entire workspace of your Notion, not just one database, not just one workflow, but think about the entire machine and how it's going to be connected together. you're building, I think of these like Lego blocks. I want to build it once and reuse it again and again and again, and leverage it to and maximize the use of it that I possibly can. Otherwise, I'm starting from scratch, or I'm building over, and and it gets messy. And it doesn't have to be that way. There is an easy way. It's by being systematic in some of those. So mistake 20. We're almost done. We're at 24. That's starting every workflow from scratch. I realized, just like what I was sharing with you, instead, it's powerful to save these common node snippets. And what you may or may not be aware of is that you can actually highlight this, copy it, and this has code in there. So what I did is I created a canvas. It was just a workflow that's not running or have any trigger. And then I just paste it. I paste the ones that I use frequently, and I reference it. If I've got these that I use frequently, I reference it over here as well. And I'm thinking about building blocks, things that I'd use frequently. Even this, I pretty much use the same simple LLM node for just about everything, and Open Router, and it's all configured, so I don't have to open up through here and then go through this wide list and choose each time. I mean, it saves a few seconds, but all those things, they add up. And as you can see, I'm building an asset. I'm building something I could use again and again. And I learned how I could do that pretty effectively. So never build from scratch. A lot of times I look, which workflow has a similar pattern, and let me just like click and duplicate it. That's been really helpful for me. I like doing it that way. So another mistake that I found, so you could save those snippets, but one thing I found is, as I started using the exact same webhook, I was using the same webhook to start multiple workflows. So essentially, on my master content tracker, every one of these represents a different workflow on n8n that I built. And because the workflow was, the webhook was such that if this property changes, then it goes to n8n. It was going good, but I found that some of them were inconsistent. Some worked and some fired and some didn't. So I was like, okay, how do I fix this? And what's causing it? Come to find out, you cannot have the same workflow. You can't use the same webhook on more than one workflow. Notion doesn't, n8n doesn't allow it. It needs to be one webhook, one workflow. If you're gonna use, like each workflow can have webhooks, but they gotta have a different URL. I wanted to use the same URL, because if I change the URL, then I have to go in here and I have to change the URL of my workflow, like here. But I don't want to change, I'd have to create a new automation, new webhook for every one of these, which I don't want to do that. So I want to use the same webhook. So I was thinking, how would I be able to do that? And after a conversation with ChatGPT, what I figured out is there's actually two main ways that I've been able to make that happen. The first is to create essentially a master workflow router. Now you might look at this and say, whoa, what am I looking at, right? And what it is basically, it is this same webhook that I use for my master content calendar, and once it runs here, then it's going to go through the switch node. And what this switch node does is it checks to see, it's going to track it's going to check what the workflow status property is set to. And now all I got to do is, when I create a new workflow, I change, this is going to be exactly what the workflow status is. I just add a routing rule. And then wherever it's routed, as you saw, those were the different workflows that I built. And then I learned about these sub workflow nodes. So this will actually execute a sub workflow. And this makes this like a parent workflow, which I was like, oh, that makes sense. So now this becomes like a routing, like a traffic control workflow that sends over to these different Notion ones. This allows me to have one automation on Notion for my whole database, one per database, and I could route them to whichever one that I want. So that makes it pretty convenient how I've been able to do that. So when run one goes through, it's going to check. Here's an example one. We use this actually quite frequently. But when one is going to run, it's going to check the workflow status, and then it's going to look at what is being sent. Let's see which one has, that is so strange. I want to see one that actually sent to someone. Oh, maybe I have one on a schedule and it's going forward. Not sure yet. But, oh, there we go. So that's an example of one that I did. So you could execute the transcripts to AI output, and it's going to send this out, and now it's going to run this workflow. So what's cool about these work that is, you can add workflow, but all you got to do is make sure that, as you can see here, there is a trigger when executed by another workflow. So when you type in, I type in sub, then there's this execute sub workflow node that comes up. And as long as that's there, I usually, as long as it's there, it will run. And I usually have it set up where I just accept all data. And then, but honestly, I don't actually use the data from there. I get the data here. Everything starts here. So whether I do it on a manual trigger or the webhook, I don't use the webhook data. I always use the data from here. I don't use the data from here. I always use the data from here for all my workflows. And the reason why, it saved me a lot of time. For all of these, I could literally copy and paste, and they're already wired to get the content, the transcript, the hook, the headline, the title, whatever, the formats, platform, all of it's from right here. So, and this name doesn't change, so these JSON files don't break on all my different workflows. By keeping it here, it makes it where it works consistently every time. So, but most of my workflows are triggered here. But one thing that's cool about this is when you have something that's only triggered by like a sub execution, it doesn't need to be active. It only needs to be active when you are using a webhook. This one is using a webhook because it's a separate database, but this one is not. So because it's ran by a sub workflow from this master router that I showed you, it's going to be triggered here, then it doesn't need to be active because it's going to actually start from here. So only the workflow that is only the workflow that has the webhook needs to be active. So this is active. All of these are mostly inactive. So that was a good tip that I learned. So using the same webhook for starting multiple workflows, that had me confused for like the first 3 weeks. And I stopped doing that. So now I have one master router. Now the other way you can do it, the second way, which you've kind of shown you a preview on some of the pages, is using a switch node. So here is a database that I have, the Bible reading database, where we create these Bible studies for our small groups based on my sermons, and they go out to people around the world. These are workflow status select properties, and based on what it is, we have one for taking a transcript to a Bible study. We have one from the Bible reading property to create slides, and it'll automatically generate slides for me using Google Docs like I talked to you about. And then I'm able to use this to record a weekly Bible study every Saturday afternoon on YouTube, on Walks with God Ministries YouTube channel. And we also have one that will turn that Bible study into a blog article. Right here, it's, oh no, not that one. It's going to, right here, it's going to turn it into a blog article and put it on, back on the blog HTML property on that Notion page. But the point is, this is a switch, and just like I shared with you before, all of these are, I mean, this is technically the same workflow, but by using a switch, I kind of get to take it down different paths. And each property on this workflow status, like if I were to look for it, I'll show you what it looks like. Bible reading, small group Bible reading calendar. So I have this as a separate database, and on this database we've got a list of topic ideas, and here's some that are completed, some topics that we've done, and then and the automations are so fun. So the workflow status, see, notice it's the same name, AI output, the exact same name. That way we're building a system here beyond just one workflow. And what happens is we have AI generate a Bible reading. It has a really powerful introduction, and it has a Bible reading is a question, and then Bible text followed by a note. Question, Bible text, note. Question, Bible text, note. So it gets 15. Our goal is 10. If we ask for 15, we're likely to find 10 that we like. And then this is the AI output. This is what the human has selected and chosen and refined or edited. And then we have one that will help to come up with headlines, 5x headlines. So use a compelling headline property here to give some suggestions. And then when we generate, when we turn this into a slides, then it'll automatically populate the slide, which is just like absolutely bonkers to me, because it's so cool to see how quickly this appears. And I'll delete that. And you can see it follows the same format. It's simple. We don't need to do it all heavy structure, but I did not touch this or edit it. AI did it. I mean, not AI, but the n8n workflow automation did this. So it has the introduction, has a question, Bible text, and it has speaker notes. Question, Bible text, 10 times, speaker notes, all the way down. And then it has the call to action, which, by the way, if anybody here wants to join our online small group Bible studies, we meet all throughout the week. They're online. We do them on Discord. You're welcome to join us. We'd be happy to have you. We have some really practical lessons of Bible studies. But this is like the structure of how it works. So I thought this was neat. And because it's so structured, it can create the slides automatically. So anyways, that is my point of bringing this up, though, is to show you that this workflow status, instead of having one webhook, which I do have a webhook in this automation right here, instead of having one webhook that goes to a router like a workflow I showed you, I just have a switch node. And the switch node, this switch node essentially allows me to have multiple workflows. Now, some people don't like having all of this on one workflow. They feel like it's kind of messy or hard to debug. I have not found it to be the case. I think it's been pretty straightforward to follow the flow of data through the workflow. But I actually, to be honest, do not have a preference whether doing this or the master router. I have no preference of what I would want to do. But they both have worked for me, and that's how I figured out how to eliminate the need of creating so many webhooks. So that was the 21st mistake that I made. And then the 22nd is relying on Notion automation to trigger multi-workflow automations. So this is new. So the first month, I was trying to like learn n8n. Second month, I wanted to really create these prompts to help me to repurpose my content, and I wanted to get these down. Now, the third month, what I wanted to do is, once I got like coming up with headlines, hooks, titles, coming up with slide ideas, being able to suggest video topics or create implementation guides from my content or create these microblogs. Once I started getting them tweaked the way that I like it, now I want to create where one trigger will do a chain of actions, a chain of these, not just one at a time. Because right now, most of this workflow is like you have to push the button for each time, which I have this Notion to transcript, and that's how these all get transcribed. Like this doesn't have a transcription, right? So if I click Notion to transcripts, I have to click this button, and then it's gonna go through the automation, send it to Uniscribe, and then it'll populate here. And that's cool. It's not bad. A human will upload this. We'll upload this to the file, and when that file is uploaded, it's going to take this file, take it to my AI transcription, and it's going to populate right there using the chunk method that I showed you before, under 2,000 characters. And these could be really large. Like I showed you, this is a 2-hour-long video, but it's going to all be there. Like this one is a 2-hour-long video, and it's all right here. So I haven't found any limit to how much content I could put on those text properties. I'm pretty impressed at how much can go there. But in order to take it to the next step, we basically have to wait or like wait for this to finish, and then a human needs to go through and click what we want to repurpose it under, which I mean, cry me a river. I mean, that's a lot of work, right? But although it's saving us a lot of time, I do want to know the next level of automating. So I tried to use Notion workflows so that like when it updates, when like this transcript property is updated, then it'll trigger the next thing. But I noticed that when a workflow status is changed by Notion automation, then the Notion automation doesn't register it as a trigger. It's the weirdest thing. So I just abandoned trying to use Notion automation to trigger these things. And what I found has worked really well is to create what I call is now these parents workflows. So you can see this is a reel. And what this does is whenever there's a new reel that gets uploaded, it's going to automatically trigger, where it's going to check, which actually, let me show you. There's going to be reel. So it's going to do, reel to transcript, microblog, and title. So what this will do is it'll transcribe the video. When there's a short video here from Vizard AI, well, first what we do is we clip it. When we clip it, then it comes up with 10 suggestions. Then we click this, and it'll transcribe the video, it'll create a description, and it'll create 5 titles for us to choose from. It's really convenient. So let me see if I can grab one for you. So I got Reels. Yeah, publishing Reels, which is right here. So the way that this works is it will generate it'll generate these videos, and I had to automatically add the URL there. Oh, there's the video file. So publishing, so when it has this video file, it's going to help write the description, it's going to help write a title. AI will generate that, and then and it makes it easier. Like here is an example. It gives a list of 5 to choose from, and then a human can go through and pick and mix and match which one would be best. And it's based on our frameworks, which of course is in our prompt database. But what's cool is it actually did 3 different actions, from transcript to microblog, transcript to title, and then transcript to, or actually video to transcript. So in order to create that, all I've had to do is create this parent workflow. Once I learned about these sub workflows, a lot of doors opened up, and I'll just have to trigger the workflow status, and everything that has that workflow status, if it has that like real transcript, microblog, title that I showed you, now it's going to run through. It's going to have an if node will check, is there a transcript in the transcript property? If not, then let's change the status to Notion to transcript, and then let's execute. This will send over to my workflow that will use Uniscribe or Assembly AI to transcribe the video, which is really convenient, from the MP4 file in the Notion property, which is super cool. Then when that's done, and I have this set specifically on run once for each item, and then wait for sub-workflow completion. That needs to be there, and the way you add that is you click that button and make sure it's toggled. So it'll wait for it to be complete, and then it goes to the if node. If the body copy is empty, which is the description, the captions that is going to be posted, then if it's empty, then it's going to set it'll basically create my workflow transcript to body copy for Instagram captions for the Reels, short videos. And then when it has the captions, it's going to check, does it have a title? If it doesn't have a title, then go through, create those 5 title suggestions that I gave you. And if it does have a title, then mark it as ready for review. Now a human needs to go review the captions and the title and then choose it. And then when they do, we mark it for publishing, and then it's good to go. So this has been really helpful. I've been able to create this, and I also have a weekly webinar one, where every week when I record a video, then it checks if there's a transcript. If there's no transcript, then it will transcribe it. Then it will add the YouTube metadata, so it creates a description, the audio chapters, the time chapters, which if you want me to go into more detail about that workflow, this is really cool. Just let me know in the comments, YouTube metadata. I will do a video on that, but it creates those, and then you'll create a distribution email that we can send to our list based on the transcript that summarizes and entices them and gives them value and has them click the link. So all of this is created, and it'll create it as a child content right next to the actual video that we have. So I'll probably go to Automation Station, and I'll show you. It's just like one of the coolest. So for the day live video, right here, so that we just did Tuesday, we now have the email that is written, and it just given some example of what the video is about, and we could insert the link here, and then we could schedule that to go send out to our list, and it's cool. So I have this created by Pabbly because I was trying to get it to work on Pabbly, but it was just not working. But I haven't updated it because, again, if I update this, it's going to I have to go update all the other places where this is. So I just leave it where it is. But these are all child content. Like these are related to itself. You can have a database related to itself. See, the parent is that video. This parent, which is a long video, and then these are like text repurposing, and there's a video for it. So that's pretty cool. Which is the next solution, is using parent sub workflows to trigger multi-workflow automations. That's where I'm at this month. This is my monthly mission. I'm focused on how can I take the actions I already got, and now I could automate one after another. So mistake number 23 is using a webhook to batch export multiple posts to CSV. Now, there was a use case where I needed to have Publer publish them, and what I have is I have this this publishing overview page, and like I mentioned, it's one page that has multiple views that has all of our content. We have different people on the team who are responsible for different portions. I have a video for what to record, and then Shanice has stuff to schedule. And when they're ready to schedule, she's looking at this to determine when we approve them, then they get put here, and she has it all organized by platform. And here on my Facebook profile, there's some ready to publish. But the thing is, the workflow status, we change the status here, and it says publishing, so it's ready for publishing. And then when it's ready for Publer, we have add to Publer CSV, because they didn't have any, now they do, but we had to bulk upload it. And throughout the week, we just mark things on here. So this might have 50 or 60 or 100 things on there ready to publish, and we want everything that has Pabbly add to Publer to run. But the problem is, if we do it this way, this is going to create a 1 hour temporary link of like this image file from the photo 1 file, which I use for thumbnails and video images, quote cards. That's where I use this file for. Video file is for the videos. But Notion will generate a 1 hour link here, but Shanicia won't be ready to schedule this yet. So I needed a way that this could be scheduled all at once, that when she's ready, she can click a button, and then all of these images get loaded to a CSV file for her to bulk import to Publer. And doing this where it automatically sends a trigger to the workflow was not going to cut it, so I couldn't use the same trigger that way. And what I did instead is I went over to here, and I created this node where it checks I created a trigger database. And on this trigger database, the way that I have it set up is whenever she clicks a button, I created a Notion button. When she clicks it, it will automatically create a page here. And when it creates a page here, this is going to trigger this database, because Notion has a trigger, and it's going to check every minute when there's a page added to the trigger database. And when this page is added, it's kind of like a webhook. And this is a way you can do it for free that doesn't require a Notion automation. I think the buttons is free. But even if the buttons isn't, if you just created a page, this would work for many people for not using the webhook. But what this does is now, instead of trying to get one at a time, this is going to return all, which, as you can see, like, this is going to check all of them that have the add to publish CSV spreadsheet here. And that might be 50 or 100 or however many. Right now it says 8. And then it's going to go through this workflow. And if they're reels, they'll be scheduled for reels. If they're microblogs, they'll be for microblogs. And we've been able to publish hundreds and hundreds of reels. Since doing this, we've been posting every day a short video for the most part since like the middle of January. And we are now in September. And it's thanks to n8n. I've had that goal to post daily content for years. And this is the first year, 2025, I've been able to post daily content. And they're good quality stuff too. Things that I've actually said or taken from my long form content. But it's all thanks to n8n, AI, and these Notion automations. So that's how we were able to get this to work. This one trigger triggers like hundreds of pages at once. And this is a process that used to take her about an hour and a half to do like 30 because she's manually downloading the file and uploading and choosing them. Where now she gets a Google spreadsheet that she just exports up to 500 at once to multiple different platforms. So to like 7 different platforms. So that's really like over 1,500 different posts going out to social media in 8 minutes. It's up to. We don't do that many, but we could. And it takes the same amount of time. So going from an hour and a half to 8 minutes, this has saved hundreds of hours just right here in figuring this system out. So that's something I'm really grateful for and helped me to get my message out to people and share a message that matters. So that is the 23rd mistake and the solution is using Notion button plus new page, even with a native n8n trigger node. That worked. And the last one is relying solely on Notion templates to load properties. What I found is that Notion API does not allow us to create these templates. Now, templates are awesome because when you have these templates, we have templates for all sorts of different content we have. These are the different types of content we use. You have the content format database, which has 140 options. These are really the ones that actually create content fairly consistently. And we have templates for them. And each one, Notion allows you to do some awesome stuff with it. And if we look at this template, I use it every week. But with this template, I have some things automatically put on here, like the live video. For whatever reason, this format property would not show up on Notion, and I can't load a template. It wouldn't show up on n8n, and I can't load a template. So what I ended up doing instead is I use a Notion automation trigger to apply the template. So what that looks like is on n8n, you can actually, that's what I chose, like this, like here we have, let's say, microblogs. We have this microblog view. Here's one that was recently created. And then we're going to type in microblog here. n8n microblog. So what I did is you can actually, by creating a view here, you can be more specific in your filters. So I got the naming convention, which is always consistent. And when the workflow status is not empty, last edited time is today, and that way it's not updating every time. This is the filter. Those are the only things that are here. So when I go through that workflow that I just showed you, I could reference this microblog, which is very specific. This view, which is very specific, which Notion automations allow. So right here, you can actually choose either all pages in the whole database, which is there by default, but I didn't do that. I did just the ones in the n8n microblog view, which I have selected with those 3 filters. So sometimes when n8n isn't like strong enough filters, you could filter it with a mixture of the automation. I got the naming convention, and then I replace the formats with microblog, because this relation property, all other relation properties work perfectly fine. They show up in n8n, but this one didn't. Usually my template will automatically open it and add that stuff to it. but it didn't. So this was a workaround that I did, and it worked flawlessly. So whenever I create a new page, they load up here, and then they show up and they add that property, and that's the similar function of the template that I wanted. So those are my 24 mistakes. Hopefully this has been insightful for you. This was on the longer side. It's a masterclass, really, but this is like 4 months of dedication, time, effort, just condensed into these 2 hours. Hopefully you find it useful, helpful, and I will tell you my goal on this channel is to create AI tutorials so simple that your grandma can follow. I know this one was a little bit more advanced, but we are going to be simplifying AI and posting new videos. Let me know in the comments which of these things you want to know more about. I'd be happy to elaborate on a shorter video, but I am going to be producing more and more videos like this. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you want help with any of these things that you are creating, then there's really powerful community that you could be a part of, and that is AI Foundations. AI Foundations is a community. This is where Productive Dude that I showed you and his brother, they put it together. There's about 1,000 of us strong, and they give tech support on n8n. They help you to answer questions. They teach you about automations, and they've got so many helpful people in the community. I paid to be a part of it, and I love it, and I plan on being here for a long time. They will help you with all these different things, and a lot of these problems that I solve, they also help to connect some of the dots for me to get me off on the right track. And whenever I get stuck, this is where I go to get help. They have Zoom calls throughout the week that you can get on, join, ask your questions. You hit a roadblock, they'll help you to get unstuck. And if you buy through my affiliate link, it's $97 a month, or you pay the annual plan. If you buy through my affiliate link, I'm going to give you my prompt database that I showed you here. This is literally the exact prompts that I've used to run my multiple six-figure business for creating content as a consultant. And you could use it for any type of business. As you can see, a lot of content you're able to repurpose, and you can see the structure of it. This is the only way that you can get access to the template. It's a special bonus I'm going to give only when you sign up to the AI Foundations through my affiliate link. The link will be in the description. But other than that, thank you for watching. I appreciate your time, and I hope to see you in the next video. Let me know in the comments what stood out to you the most. What was it that what is your favorite takeaway that you got from this video? Till next time, have a great day, and God bless.